exactly the kind of thing we want to see happen. So that'll be for this month. That'll come down after, towards the end of the month. And then November, December, we have a local artist, Gilbert Johnson. He hasn't come up with a title for the exhibit yet, but it'll be paintings, two-dimensional. I'm not sure if it's acrylic or oil or what, but, that nature of art. And hopefully the attendance will continue, and ideally we'll have, support with as many commissioners as we can, not all in one night, but on different, over the different months that come, so.
Can you repeat the name of the artist that's coming in November?
Well, in November, it's Gilbert Johnson. Gilbert Johnson.
Gilbert Johnson.
And Annette already had in the email, yeah. It was the email I sent to both of you, and I said, oh, for you, I can resend it if you want. Yeah, I sent it back when I wanted to get this on the agenda. The email to get this included the information.
Can you resend it? I'll look, but can you resend it just in case?
Yeah,
I received it.
Yeah, it went to both of you.
Okay, so I guess I just overlooked it. I did get the attachment, so I will look for the email.
Yeah, or I can easily resend it.
I also received clarification about being a working commission and being under the Brown Act, and that we can all be in attendance at events as long as we are not
social event.
discussing items that are under consideration by the commission.
And what further kind of keeps it in the intent of the Brown Act, at least as we've been told in the past, we don't, by design, like, I don't know, anyway, who will end up, even sometimes ideally, using the calendar keeps a minimum of 2 or maybe 3, which isn't a problem. If a fourth shows up, nobody else knew. It's not like we planned it, and we're too busy dealing with the public anyways.
It isn't a violation of the Brown Act.
So.
Any other comments on docent participation and docent-led events? All right. Then on to item 8, new or unfinished business preservation. Specifically, an update on the conservation of the life of George Washington, Commander-in-Chief of the American Forces, 1804 by John Marshall, and the collection we sent off to Karen Zucker for restoration work. So at the last meeting, we discussed staff reaching out to Karen Zucker to inquire about removing the archival boxes from the work that she is under contract to provide. So staff talked with her, and with her staff, and following up on that, I also talked with them. And Karen Zucker's position is that the bulk of the work is the archival boxes, that given how much time that her firm has spent sort of negotiating back and forth about this project, if we remove the archival boxes from the contract, she would prefer to simply return the works to us, and then it would mean we've pretty much burnt that bridge, and would need to start the process all over, and we would lose the funds from last year that were encumbered, because Karen Zucker would not want to work with us on another contract. So my recommendation is that, based on the previous unanimous vote of the council, the commission, we proceed with the contract as is. I received further clarification from Karen Zucker that not all archival boxes are created equal, that the archival boxes that her team would create would not just be archival cardboard, archival board and cloth tape. They would be lined, they would be labeled appropriately, and would really be appropriate sort of showcase boxes to sit on the shelf. So that's part of what we'd be paying for. So in the interests of moving on to other business and making best use of the funds that have already been approved at a previous commission meeting, I plan on calling Karen Zukor this week, or Annette Taylor will call Karen Zukor this week to proceed with the contract as is. Is there any further discussion or questions from commissioners?
Excuse me, Commissioner Trumper, how much will we be paying Karen Zucker for the work you're talking about, the archival boxes?
It's the amount that we considered, 2 or 3 meetings ago, which, Annette, do you have that number in front of you? We feel like we look at it at every meeting, and then I don't have it right at
I believe it was under the 2,500.
It's the amount we were trying to use so that we didn't lose it, right?
Yeah, 2,500, but I don't believe all of it would need to be spent on this particular project. It came in under budget for the amount we had available. I think the amount is right around 2,000 total. Commissioner Kent?
I don't have any problem with proceeding as it is. If the question is which end of a bridge burns, so long as Karen Zucker is on understanding that that we're at cost commission to provide books to a municipality, and then afterward I can follow back with Craig Jensen, who used to own and run Book Lab, that did nationwide preservation photocopy, including making archival book boxes, and we can get a sense from him on whether or not Karen Zucker is someone that we want to go back to. Thank you.
And just as, to add on to what I reported, originally, I did explain to Karen Zukor that we are not a private collection, we're a publicly owned collection, and we're a commission of volunteers, and our funds are limited, and that is why this process to get her under contract has been a little more, there's been more work involved in it than she probably encounters with other clients, and she was very understanding because she also is herself a commissioner for libraries in her city, and so she understands and was sympathetic.
Great. I mean, I'm sympathetic to her needing to charge what she does to do special collection one-off orders. This isn't a limited edition, it's a one edition. So obviously those things have to be in consideration, and it's we'll see what it is, and hopefully it's it's responsible.
Thank you. Commissioner Beecher.
Yes, so this is an unfortunate outcome. Not that the boxes won't be professional quality, that's not the point. It should not have happened to begin with. I don't blame Karen for a position that she feels she's in, and I wouldn't, in the balance of this, want to see the lost future opportunities. There's not a lot of curators around, and she has a lot of experience with this collection too. So there's a lot in the balance. However, it's maybe a lesson learned the hard way. And I know our chair knows that I made efforts to point out quite distinctly that these things take more time than they think they may. All the way back when we were looking at other options, other display, equipment options versus working on books. And I said, we don't have the time to do this. We're trying to squeeze too much in, and this is where we ended up. Very important for the record here, when it said that it was a unanimous decision, we did not have, and we knew we did not have, specific information about what the work would be. All we knew was what the items would be. There was no scope. There was no scope of work. So the real lesson is here, let's not ever have an action item that authorizes expenditure of any sums, whatever part of the budget, where we don't actually know what's going to be done with that money. And that would go a long way to not having this reoccur. But, you know, we are where we are, so we just got to move on with it. Yeah, and we should be looking at, and we used to in the past, as early as 6 months, so 6 months in a fiscal year means like this December, starting to look at what would happen before we reach June 30th of next year with the monies that are in the stipend for preservation. You start that early. Otherwise, you cut your nose off.
Thank you. Commissioner Tehima, did you have further comments? I see your light on.
Oh, I didn't mean to have the light.
No worries. Then I think we proceed with the contract as previously voted and reported. We'll need to, Annette, when you talk with her, you'll need to check their schedule and see, since we have further delayed their starting the work, if it's still slated for October with completion in November, or if it'll potentially lead into a later month. Thank you. All right, on to item 8B, Commission Work Plan Discussion. At the last meeting, we assigned point people to sort of lead the effort to begin putting ideas together for how we would develop the work plan under each of our identified priority areas, which are cataloging, preservation, and public access. Commissioner Benson is not here to give an update on preservation. Commissioners Beecher and Kent submitted a draft outline that they worked up together as point people for public engagement, and that is attached in the packets. Would you like to give a quick summary of
So,
things?
yeah, and Zachary may have some things to add as well. It seems as we divide and conquer, and we have different commissioners focusing on parts of the work plan overall on what would be involved to accomplish the goals, so to have a roadmap. When I've been on other bodies trying to do this kind of thing, usually it's more like strategic planning, which isn't quite the same, but it's similar enough. It's useful to have some sort of instrument, such as like this kind of template kind of thing, to just gather your thoughts, the brainstorming, and kind of put things in an order, and then hopefully from that arrive at some more concrete steps and plans. This was not arrived at novelly. We can't claim. There are lots of templates out there for this kind of thing on the internet. Found 2 or 3 and grabbed some, different parts of one or the other and put it together to see what would best address what we're trying to do with the McCune's Commission's work plan. So we have these are the objectives that are already identified, but there's further rows for more concrete steps that would accomplish each of those objectives. And this can be rearranged. It's just a starting point. Priority, because some will have more priority than others. Feasibility, because that can vary across these sub areas with this goal. The resources needed, that's important, recognizing or identifying challenges, how you might address those challenges, where the status is, additional notes. And the ones that are filled in, that is an initial attempt. I mean, we didn't just throw in anything. That's data that's relevant to each of those cells, to each of those parts of the template. But it was more to kind of give a sense of how this might flesh out, what kind of information might best fit some of these. We haven't really attempted this, it's only been 2 weeks. We just found it and said, well, let's, show how some of this would get used, and beyond this, we'll take some more time to brainstorm and kind of try to fill it out more completely. This is not like that other, with different areas, need to take this as it is or take it at all. Might be useful, that would be great, or they might find something different or similar that they like better. Or at some point, as chair, if you want to standardize some sort of template across the area, I mean, that doesn't have to be decided tonight, but had you even thought about maybe something like this would come into play, or maybe we might, especially when you got more than one person, getting something on paper and some is a way to advance, otherwise you just talk and talk and talk. So, and then Zachary, if you want to add anything to that.
The only thing that I wanted to add was I don't know how to bring it up in general, so I suppose it's best to bring it up during a meeting, but I'd like to expand the hours that it's open, and I'm willing to show up to have the collection be available for a longer period.
Thanks for the updates. I think, Zachary, that could be one of the objectives listed on the worksheet here, would be to have additional open hours in addition to the Tuesdays and Saturdays that we have currently. So I'd encourage you to go ahead and add any and all ideas for increasing public access, because we're in kind of the brainstorming phase right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I believe that in the interim, since our last meeting, Annette sent around to all of the commissioners an example of a work plan that another commission has successfully put together, had approved by city council and the city manager's office, and even had funded out of the city of Vallejo's tight budget. So that was sent around as an example of a format that the council and city manager are used to seeing. And it's more of a narrative format, which is kind of what I had in mind. But I think for this brainstorming phase, any kind of worksheet like this, if it works for the people using it, I think that's great. And then ultimately, we're going to combine all these ideas together into more of a narrative, approachable report.
Yeah, this wasn't intended to be a possible final product at all. I mean, I find it odd to say, well, what's your work plan, and see a spreadsheet. This was very much an internal instrument to get to something like what economic development, or that commission, or any, so I haven't even contemplated what the final thing might look like, or what style. There were good things about that example, but there were some things that maybe we want to do differently, or have a different approach too, so, yeah.
Yeah, I had the same thoughts, that the work of the two commissions is very, very different, and fits into the priorities of the city very differently. And so I think ours wouldn't exactly mirror what the EDC is working with. So at this point, we have Henry and Zachary working on public access. We have Joel and Jim working on cataloging, and I'm wondering if Vince would like to help me with preservation and heading that up. And you don't have to answer right now. You can follow up at a later date if you want to give it some thought. But just to kind of be thinking partners and thinking through how to approach putting together more of a plan for how we go about making sure that we're taking good care of the works in the collection. In terms of preservation, I started putting ideas together. And I think it would start with an assessment of the current state of the collection. I think that would entail working with a professional or professionals who are curators or preservationists to help identify items needing restoration work, and also an approach for ongoing monitoring, so that, as Commissioner Beecher was saying, we calendar it well enough in advance that we can budget accordingly for the coming year or years ahead. I think this item, preservation in the work plan, needs to also recommend a plan for managing preservation and restoration tasks going forward, and not just identify sort of a short-term list, and make sure we're preventing harm by identifying any urgent improvements to the current storage or display of items in the collection, including perhaps lighting or climate control, if there seem to be any immediate issues. We definitely need to look at impacts to the budget, and include, as we develop these different work areas, looking ahead to budgetary needs to actually implement the things that we're talking about. And what else? I think I would love to see us really prioritize this work plan before our next meeting, which will be in October, November, December, beginning of December. So that in December, we have something much closer to a draft of a work plan to evaluate, assess, and provide feedback to. And I know everyone's availability is what it is, and so we'll just have to see how far we can get in that amount of time. But I'd love to see it take a priority. I've also been thinking that, I think it might have been Commissioner Benson, who said last time that everything, all the other work areas and priority areas really are contingent on knowing what's in the collection, and that therefore cataloging could be the first priority that we tackle. I think Commissioner Beecher also suggested that maybe instead of doing all three of these at once, we do them sort of one at a time. And so as I've been giving this more thought over the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking that it would actually make a lot of sense to really start with a big focus on cataloging. So I think we should continue working on the work plan, but perhaps implementing then could start with cataloging, and then once we've got that well underway, then kind of spread out our attention to start really tackling preservation and increasing public access. I just have one more thing I wanted to say, responding to the update on the the public engagement and programming work plan, that I would love to see one of the objectives clearly state that we want to increase interaction with the collection, and that activities should sort of highlight and showcase what's actually in the collection and how it can be relevant or important or interesting or entertaining for visitors to the collection. So those are two things that I'm going to advocate for being a part of the public access work plan. All right, any other comments from commissioners?
I just want to say that I don't know through what avenue to make the appropriate inquiry as to whether a decision is made on demonstrations. But obviously, demonstrations is, demonstrations would be a considerable effort on my part, and so consequently, the question of how I spend my time would be, sort of determined by how that question's answered, I feel. But also, I think I'm for cataloging and having a sense of what we have and moving forward into some sort of better. This week I caught myself trying to find out if there was a book in the collection without driving up there to look and see, because I thought I'd seen a copy of it and I couldn't find it in a web search. So it's like, if we can find those things, and if we're doing a catalog and adding those things, and if that means that we're taking pictures of the volumes, maybe there's a way that we can include in there our assessment of the condition of the volume, because I know that there's some volumes that have loose leaves and stuff like that, and then we could sort of, the cataloging would dovetail right into the preservation of it, because we would at least know what direction we wanted people to look, and so a professional doesn't have to come in and catalog and assess all at the same time, so that's all.
That is brilliant. I appreciate that. Thank you. As an addendum, Commissioner Kent, do you have any kind of update by any chance on use of the press and the city's opinion of perhaps doing press demonstrations?
I gave a demonstration for the city attorney, and I I don't really know how or to what degree, how to request a follow-up on that. Because obviously, she took a short demonstration video of me doing it so that she could, have that. And I believe Commissioner Beecher's also provided a copy of the draft that Joel had put together of, demonstrations, which I looked over, and it looks fine. I think, it's a matter of, I wasn't trying to, it's a matter of, finding out what direction to go after that decision's made.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, I think those are all great things to add to add as ideas to the worksheet for the work plan. In terms of going forward, I think at the last meeting, we debated whether it makes more sense to create ad hoc committees to do this or just have point people. And I think for sort of this brainstorming phase, it still makes sense because it's more streamlined to just have point people kind of working on this in your own hours as we're all able, rather than making ad hoc committees that they just have more procedure that goes along with them. So I think that we'll keep it like that. And then the idea was that I would kind of consult with each of the point people in between, kind of brainstorming this. So I will reach out to the point people to do that in the next over the next month, month and a half, so we can get this ready for the next meeting in December. All right. Future agenda items, item 9A, we will return to any work plan categories that were not selected as those 3 top priorities at future meetings. It sounds like we should put sort of short-term preservation needs on the next agenda. I mean, I think it already is under preservation, so that'll fit. Does anyone else have any items they want to add? Since we have this 2-step agendizing process, things we want to make sure we talk about. I mean, it'll go on the December agenda, so we wouldn't talk about them till February. Annette?
Through the chair, since you're working on the work plan and you have concentrated on the first 3 priorities, if you would like to bring one, I believe there were 10, if you want to bring 1 or 2 of the other area items that had been identified, that could be put on the agenda to discuss then under work plan.
Commissioner Beecher?
So the other thing that typically happened in December is to at least contemplate the approach with the budget, and it's gone a couple of different ways. In the most recent past, for very, I hope, obvious reasons, have been it's not a bad thing that not a lot of money's been going out. When we resumed for a little over a year, the Sundays, we started seeing more monies being spent because of the hospitality. But the long and short of it is, particularly as chair, if you feel that in all likelihood, the commission will converge around essentially keeping the budget with updating the dates, and so, to roll into a new year, you don't need an ad hoc committee. You may not even need it on the December agenda. You can just proceed in February with a mock-up, and then if we want to dicker around with it in small ways, there's still time to submit it February, April. If you think that we're going to take a different approach or make the budget look really different, or for whatever reasons, then you might want an ad hoc committee formed in December to bring something back in February. I'm not saying that shouldn't happen. I don't know if there's necessarily circumstances pushing for it, but it's gone one way or the other in the past. And December's not too early to be thinking about that.
I think the big changes to, any bigger changes to the budget would come out of the work plan that we're creating. So if we can get that far by December, then, maybe we can fit that into some new budgeting work in February, which would be pretty exciting. I'm also anticipating that any increases in spending would not come from the endowment or city funds, but would come through new fundraising via the McCune Foundation. So I anticipate it would be hard to get a budget increase through with the city, but raising additional funds through fundraising and the 501c3 status, we definitely have the leeway to do that. But yeah, it's another reason to keep pushing on the work plan and set some priorities and make some forecasts of what they're going to cost, and then get that underway. That would be exciting. All right, then our next meeting date is December 1st, and the meeting is adjourned at 5:15.
Commissioner Trumper, I'll work with you on
The
the,
meeting is not adjourned.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to make, I'll work with you on the project you mentioned.
Yay, thank you so much. That's
Sure.
excellent. It's still 5:15 and the meeting is adjourned.